Hi, everyone. My name is Shani Mohammed, and I am the Economic Development Specialist at Wilkes-Barre Connect. Welcome to Episode 5 of Connect Further. Connect Further is a video series featuring national thought leaders, industry experts, social innovators, and change agents discussing the post-COVID-19 economic and social landscape. We hope that having these discussions will help shape our recovery efforts, define our new norm, and establish the importance of coming together as a community to solve our most pressing social and economic issues. A new installment of this series is released every other Wednesday at noon, leading all the way up to our Wilkes-Barre Connect conference in November. Today, we're speaking with freelance creative director and brand designer, Ced Funches. Ced is the founder and president of School.com. School.com is an educational media nonprofit built for a new era in social learning. In his role, Ced focuses on overall strategy, customer experience, scaling revenue, business relations, marketing, product, contract negotiations, and partnerships. He also dedicates his time to mentorship and public speaking. In these capacities, he shares his experiences in his work to build brands and design teams. Ced has previously led creative teams at Vox Media, the NBA, and the University of San Diego. Welcome to Connect Further, Ced.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Ced, great to have you on. I've been looking forward to this recording for a while, and we got a chance to know each other about a year ago now, and I can still remember pacing back and forth outside the office on the phone with you for the first time. And of course, who else would introduce us but the amazing Julie Annixter, who knows the whole world, and excited at the opportunity to bring you into our conference last year. But I think after talking to you for about 30 seconds, that was the last thing on my mind. Had this just like amazing conversation that was like, okay, I think we need to talk again next week. And here we are. We've talked a lot, and have become friends, and really looking forward to figuring out a way to work together, which I'm super excited about. And I think for me to have you on Connect Further, we're so excited. I know the team's so excited to hear from you, and we can't wait to see you in person again soon, hopefully soon. But with that, how we start every episode of Connect Further, first question: how the heck are you? How have you been the last couple of months? How have you gotten through? What's it been like for you?
It's been very, very different. I struggle with the challenge of social distancing from everyone, just like everybody else. But I've been very, very fortunate and very blessed. I've got a wonderful wife and a great son, and it's oddly given me so much time with them that it's kind of been kind of a blessing in disguise. But all told, we are healthy, and so that's pretty much all that I could ask for.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Everybody healthy, and I think so true. If there is that positive side of this pandemic, is being able to truly spend time with your family and ones that you love, and strengthen that bond that you have. And I've learned more about my daughter in the last couple of months than I think I had in the previous 15 years. It's been amazing from that standpoint, right? But I am not going to delicately go into this. I think right off the bat, I want to pull a statement that our good friend Kat Lindroth had in one of our previous episodes. And the statement was, go into any institution in 1950 and then go into it in 2020. Vast differences, whether it's layout, design, work plans, the workforce, everything, the environment is completely different.
Right.
Now go into a school in 1950 and go into a school in 2020. There's no difference. And her statement, which I love, she says is, in fact, it's usually the same building.
Exactly.
Nothing has changed. And I think the point in that conversation that we had with Kat was, the two institutions that you really look upon, government, education, what COVID has done is it hasn't changed anything. It's just highlighted some of the deficiencies that those institutions have. So, we talked a little bit off air, but talk to me about your state of the union in terms of education.
Yeah.
Where do you just see this thing right now? Where do you see it going?
You know, when I first started, you know, kind of going down the road of education, was schooled. I initially went to school districts and school boards on, you know, on my own, just, hey, you know, I want to help and do what I can. And then over time, what I got to see is this machine of bureaucracy. And as a high schooler, you know, when you're a student, you don't see any of this stuff. I mean, you probably think that there's a problem and oh my gosh, but you're surrounded by adults and teachers. And so they solve whatever problems were mounted upon you. But you're not realizing that the way that they're solving problems, as you alluded to, is the same way they would have solved the problem in the 50s. They're not teaching you crisis management. They're not teaching you how to handle the things that are happening. They're not teaching you how to talk about your feelings or your emotions. They're like none of the things that are that you know, kind of the society has graduated to. That's really where everything is, you know, with education lagging behind. I think that COVID-19 has, like you said, it's not only stripped bare what the actual problems are, it's stripped bare that the problems are there and that there is no solution for those sets of problems. Those problems can't exist in the institutions that we have now. We don't have the same type of dysfunction that schools have, or education, or funding for education. That doesn't happen in essentially a free trade world. If I need funding, presumably I should go and get more funding. With schools, the funding is through this antiquated system of how it's distributed and where you're at, and then, you know, some local members can lobby for their, it's so backwards and just has not kept up, that it was inevitable that, you know, the rush to open things back up would only exacerbate the problem, because now you see universities folding. And my gut, this was, you know, me being a little bit more tongue-in-cheek and probably selling my own product 2 years ago, where I was like, hey, universities won't even exist. It'll all be online. Now I can confidently say within the next 2 years, universities will not exist, because you have a generation that will see that there's zero value to getting $200,000 in debt and not having that money be on a house. Do I need to go to college to buy a house? Nope. Do I need to have an income to buy a house? Yep. What's the fastest path for me to get an income? That's where I think education is shifting towards. It's how do we educate classes of individuals how to do something to help themselves do something else. And the structure of universities and education, I worked in higher education, it's all pomp and circumstance. And those institutional walls that have existed all existed on money. And if there's no money coming in, then there's nothing to prop that up. Now there's no value. And that's really where you see education at, is the value is in the answer. It's not in the question or the test or the degree or the I went there, pat me on my back. Because when you're isolated, now what difference does it make? I could have gotten the answer at 8:30 in the morning, same way you got the answer at 3:30, except you had to commute. Then you had to listen to a professor talk about how great they are, then finally get around to the syllabus, then tell you that you have a test. It's such a waste of time. Just tell me the answer, tell me how I need to apply it, and then help me get better at applying it. That's where I really see the future of teaching is headed.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a couple good points. I'm really interested, and I work closely with a lot of higher eds, and there are good partners in a lot of things that we do. And it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic shift, because I think, you know, I think there's going to be, and rightfully so, there should be greater importance placed on their specialty. So I think of like Wilkes University here locally and their pharmacy program. Great program. It's pumping out. It's such a great component of the economy. Well, they also have like 40 other disciplines, right? I look at King's College. They've got an amazing 3- and 2-year program at the University of Notre Dame for engineering. Great program. It's attracting top-level talent. And I think you'll see them really focus on those areas. And what's interesting are those other degree patterns, right? And I think and this is just my opinion, I think they could turn they can look internal for some options, because we've worked with amazing professors. Terry Clemente comes to mind, who was actually a professor of mine at Penn State.
Oh, wow.
And teaches locally, and she does things completely different. She's all about experiential learning, and she's bringing in industry to these classrooms, and these kids are getting experience that is leading to direct internships. I've worked in programs with her where students were hired before the course even finished.
Exactly.
That I think there is there's a dynamic shift that can happen, and I think that it's not as far off as they would think. I think they've got so many talented professors and opportunities that they can make that switch. It's are they going to commit to it?
Right. And I think that is the moment of truth that I think universities will have. You saw Harvard bringing their courses online, but keeping the same cost, which shows you two things. That one, you could have always had it online. So you put your whole curriculum online within a matter of months. You got that figured out. But two, your cost structure is completely arbitrary. And I think if Harvard unwittingly leads the way, then other universities will say, we're going to avoid that misstep. We're going to offer these same things, but we're going to offer it at $20,000. And that just means that the regents and the individuals who run those universities have to actually look at what are our hard costs? Why do we have these hallowed halls that no one walks in? What do we have all of these? What's this overhead? And I think that if you think about it, education has always benefited from the spoils of business, but it's never really been run like a business. And that's unfortunately in our society where education falls down. Because if you look at any course or any college, because they all follow the same framework, the individuals who graduate from those colleges or universities are woefully unprepared for real world. They're not prepared for the consequences of not accomplishing something, because it's a 4-year black hole, for lack of a better term. You're existing in a artificial world that does not even replicate the real world you're about to face in 3 to 4 years, maybe even 2 years. Maybe you skip out and you get a part-time someplace. You start to realize very quickly, and one of the biggest things that I'm starting to see now is you see individuals. I remember growing up, people were like, "Oh, you dropped out of college, man," and that used to be like a renegade thing. The most clear thing I was told by a mentor that I truly respect, and I asked him, "Hey, what would you do differently if you had to do things differently?" He said, "The biggest mistake I'd made was going to college first." It's like, really? It's like, yeah. His dad was, they were into sheetrocking by trade. So he's like, I took for granted that I had something that I could just take over from my dad or keep working summers with my dad and make money. No one taught me that that's what I should have done, because they taught me that if you get a good job, you need a good education. And that's this, again, from the 40s, the 50s, this propaganda of here's how you do these things. And he said, you know what? Once he's big in real estate now. He said, once I started buying property and I realized that my having multiple properties, no one asked me for my college degree. No one asked me where I worked. No one asked me anything. He's like, after I bought my 3rd commercial property, it was all over the telephone. I was like, you're kidding me. It's like, we just do our students such a disservice by saddling them with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that they will never be able to pay off, ever. I finally have my student loan down at $50,000. I'm in my 40s. And I finally got it down to $50,000. And now when individuals ask me, well, what would you do? What would I do differently? Knowing that the bank gave me $80,000, it was $80,000. They're like, well, do the right thing. Yeah, I'm going to go buy 2 houses. I'm going to go buy 1 house and I'm going to go buy a duplex. And then in 1 year, after I actually turn that around, I'm going to get a loan for my tuition. And then I'm going to pay all of that up and actually just keep buying things from there. And I mean, the conversation just blew me away, but it really made me think about how education needs to change into why waste my time teaching me all of these things that I could learn after you taught me the most important things? You teach me the most important things. How do I get a job? How do I interact with people? How do I apologize to my spouse? How do I apologize to my friends? How do I let things go? How do I, like, that's what you should learn in school. Don't teach me something that this could tell me. And that's really my only problem with that I have, with kind of that current world of education is you're forced to sit and listen to someone give you the answer that this phone could have told me within 3 minutes of me just doing a little bit of research. So what am I actually paying for?
Yeah, and again, I think that's why we've always been a huge proponent of internships and strengthening that, because I think there's that dynamic. It makes or breaks your vision of yourself. And I'm a perfect example. I went to college. I dropped out. Not many people know that, but I did. I went to Penn State. Went for 2.5 years, was in hospitality. That's what my family business was in. Mm-hmm. And I dropped out. And I came home, and my father put me right to work and said, okay, you're going to run this restaurant now, and you're going to manage it, and you're going to go through the whole thing. Well, man, I realized about 12, 15 months later, I don't like anything about this. and it took that time frame to be like, okay, I don't like any of this thing. This is not what I was taught in a textbook. And then I went back to school with an opportunity of, I really enjoyed the marketing concept of what we did and the creative side of that. I've got that kind of creative thing in me. So I went back to school focusing on marketing. And I mentioned her name drop before, Terry Clementi, had her as professor. And she brought this opportunity for me to get out into the world, and not only in her classroom, but in the internship side, had me with the Institute for Public Policy and Economic Development, Terry Owens, who I've had a chance to introduce you to. And it changed my direction in life. And here I am. If I would have stayed on my path, I don't know, would I be a manager of a restaurant right now? I don't know. Right. But it took someone in that institution to say, let me throw you into the real world a second, and change my trajectory. And so I think that's that dynamic that I think the schools have the capability to do that, but they've got to be 100% into that. Yeah. Let's get that experience to these kids to figure out, we're not concerned about your $200,000 that you're giving us. We want you to walk away with a purpose in life and a direction on how you could be the best person. So I think they have the ability to do it. It's can they do it?
Yeah, and I think it's the information delivery system, and I think it's all based on archaic thinking that have been predetermined. If you do this and become a lawyer, you do this. And a good example, I have a good friend of mine. He's a DO, and I remember just he was in med school forever, and I was like, man, you and his brother was in med school, and great friends, and we would always keep in touch. And years later, he's doing well and he's making good money, but he's like, Ced, when I went to school, if someone would have just simply told me how much money a surgeon or a practicing surgeon within a specialized field made, it would actually give me a better pathway for med school. It would tell me what I want to do, because I would actually say, I want to make $400,000 a year. I want to do that. And that's how it's set up. So the information is there. He's saying no one even said anything until I went to grad school. No one even brought it up until I'm doing clinicals. And then, have you thought about what you want to do? It's like, well, you're 10 years too late. You should have told me that, because I actually have to start taking specialized courses. So even like you said, the mechanics are there. The information is there. The way that things are set up, it's there. How I would change the university system is I would start with your graduate courses studies first. Teach me how to do it, and then go backwards to the why and the let's spend the rest of these next years. Now that you know what to do, now we're going to spend a couple of years implementing why it's the best way to do it, and how do you get better at implementing that? Because why teach me the foundation first? That's not what I need. I need to know what we're talking about. And that's where I think education is missing the boat, because they're not catching up with technology. Technology teaches me what it is. There is no reveal and surprise. Netflix is a perfect example of, we don't have time to wait. I need all the episodes right now. Right now. It's non-negotiable. It used to be, maybe a couple of them were binge. Now, all of them. Don't even waste our time. You better put them all up. And as you can see, the episodic treatments, people are like, nah, we don't got no time for that. I don't have time to wait. And so the education system has to catch up. That's how people think. Teach me the last thing first. Bottom line up front in military terms. Teach it to me right now. What is the most important part about this? But usually it's the dumbest courses, the most boring things. I don't have any money. I can't comprehend what's happening. The professor doesn't like his tenure and he's not this and that. So it comes out through the classes and we're all just kind of herded through these things. When really, if you think about it, like you said, you get an internship with a sports team or with ESPN or with something like that, they want to put you to work. So they're going to teach you how the cameras work. They're going to teach you this. They're not going to teach you the philosophy of plugging in the camera, because that makes no sense. Why would I teach you that? That's stupid. And education as a whole is stuck in the 50s, because really it's more about the teachers than it is the students. Every other industry has changed where it's more about the outcome. I can have an ego, but really it's the outcome. So I want to teach my workers how to do something proficient so that they can do it at a better level, at a faster level, at those type of things. If you think about teaching, it's never changed. It's the exact same thing for a second grader that it is for a 10th grader. It's the exact same. Even the structure of the day is the same.
And it is. And I think, there's such a combination of things there. And I think first, to like on a completely other, like true, so you hear me, I drop out, right? And I go kind of find my career pathway, which was, by the way, the least expensive thing to do, right? It was the least expensive pathway. Then there's my brother Clancy, who you know well.
Yeah.
My brother, undergrad at St. Joe's, master's at Wilkes, worked in the financial industry for a little bit and decided that he wanted to be a lawyer, and then went to Duquesne. He's going to be paying his student loan till literally he's got grandkids. And he didn't realize his pathway till he went through all those things. And I think, again, it points to that, like, understanding, the world outside of the classroom of how that could shape. And like, as soon as he got out there, it was like, wow, okay, no, this is not who I am or what I want to be. Okay, well, another shift, and I'll still remember the day my father calling me saying, what did you tell your brother? What advice did you give him? I said, follow your dreams. I didn't know he was going to add more debt, but the truth to that, I think, and the point I was making was, I think, again, I think, growing up in a household, my mom was a public school teacher. I think, what we talked about off air right before we started doing this interview of, like, in the government sense, right? Of like, okay, you put out something, there's some cracks in it. Instead of understanding what's causing the cracks, you just keep plastering over it to the point where you're squashing innovation, you're squashing creativity, and you're just stuck in this piece of like how to operate. And Pedro Rivera was the Secretary of Education for Pennsylvania. Amazing person. We get the chance, unbelievable opportunity to work with him on a lot of different things. And it's like, how do you roll out programs that can service the schools in inner city Philadelphia and work in Milford, PA?
Yeah.
Like, how do you even try to do that? It's impossible. And I think, while higher ed now is trying to now figure out, okay, how can we do this? And I have utmost confidence in the world that, especially our schools, they're smaller, they can adapt quicker. We've already seen them started to do that. They're going to figure it out, right? But I think what it's going to do is place tremendous pressure now on K through 12. Mm-hmm. Because that end game of college is dynamically shifting. And so I think K through 12, how do you adapt? And I think,
good point.
I think the most, the thing that upsets me the most about the pandemic is it forced schools to be remote, right? And a lot of them were not prepared for that, which I always said the easiest way to figure out how to do it is ask your students, because they could get you online. They could do it. They could do it in a day for you, right?
Yeah.
But it just started to just even push further the divide among income levels in different communities across the state. And the schools that have great sources of revenue, boom, they were okay, we're good. Then there's some that are hoping to get like a worksheet to a student. And like it's just pushed this divide even further. And I think, the answer is making sure that it's just not, the education has to exist outside. And I think that's the direction of what we're trying to do with Connect and NEPA Works, of Coding the Coal Region. We're not telling the school districts they're doing a bad job or doing a great job. We're saying, hey, we're right alongside of you. You need a partner. We want to partner with you because the outcome is the same. We want these kids to have every opportunity. I don't care what the barriers are. We're going to solve it. And I think, for us, I think, we're excited to work along our school districts because, to provide something to that kid who a school district might not be able to provide computer programming for, we're saying, don't worry, we've got it. We'll provide that for you and we'll be that stepping stone. So it's a perfect segue into you with schools because I think you thought about this way before COVID.
Yeah, I did.
And
I have.
So tell us about it.
It's actually, every day that I kind of, piece this thing together, lots of investors I talked to in the past, everybody is coming around now and seeing exactly what I've been talking about with school is it's not about replacing anything. It's just saying that there's a deficiency there, that I can get access to things that I could never get in high school now. But why is that? That's not fair to someone who's in high school. That should be the place where you could go, just like a public library, that you should have a level playing field. And that's really what I based Schooled on, is the idea of, can I disseminate information quickly to everyone? The exact same thing. We all learn at the exact same time. Now we all know what we're talking about, whether that be on finances, whether that be my work with the professional sports leagues. They understand the new rules, or you go to a new team and you're learning what that team is, or you go to a new job at Intel, and Intel, basically onboards you within a week, where it would normally take 3 weeks. That's what my entire ethos of Schooled is it's not to replace. It's not to say that you're dumb or your systems are dumb and I'm going to, I'm going to disrupt. I've always just cringed when people say they're going to disrupt this industry, and COVID-19 has proven you're not good at disrupting anything. One, no one wants to be disrupted. Two, if you've ever had your lights cut off, then you know a disruption in service is an inconvenience. So why are you disrupting things? If you add value, then add value. And that's really the idea behind Schooled. It's, how do I assist and level the playing field for every student in America? How do I do that? And where I was always concerned about having competition and all these institutions and these, kind of grandfathered in, who are grandfathered in place. What I realized that I had that was an advantage was I'm nimble. I have all the access in the world. I have access to celebrities, athletes. I've got access that people would die to have. But I have one more important thing. I have a desire to actually help people, not save the world, not I'm going to solve poverty. Nope. I'm going to do something easier than that. I'm going to give people the answer to the questions on the test. And eventually there's going to be no tests in place anyway, because you don't need tests. You don't need things to stop you from learning. I need you to know what to do by tomorrow. I don't need you to take a week to figure it out and then we test you to see where your knowledge is, because life is not about memorization. It's not about memorizing these things. It's about knowing them and applying them. And that's the entire point of Schooled. And so, I've been working with a couple of private organizations, nonprofits. I turned Schooled into a nonprofit so I could take advantage of these partnerships that are nationwide. And that's really been the goal, is once we roll out, I truly am partnering with huge technology partners to say, If your student does not have a device, we will give him or her a device, period. No more excuses, no more games, no more, well, we tried, no more, we went to the budget and we ran out of budget. I'm not going to run out of budget. I'm not going to run out of funding because the infrastructure is set up to help. And I think that's really where individuals have fallen down. And so with school, you know, I tried to take a different approach. And that's, I think, where you and I share just the same mindset of, we don't want to disrupt teachers and we don't want to displace teachers. We don't want to even displace their curriculum. What we want to say is their learning shouldn't stop when they walk out of that classroom and move on to the next thing. It needs to be this continuous thing. Show me how all of this stuff fits together so that I'm better for you. Now you can move on to the next thing. And then we all kind of grow together.
Well, a couple of things. So first, your analogy of, I don't want to disrupt. I love that. It's like so refreshing, right? Because that's all I always say. I want to disrupt it. No, we're not. No. Disruption is just a nuisance. We don't want that. And I think, you know, the thing that I've just like been your biggest fans since I first talked to you is the line of you saying like, I don't want to change the world. I want to help. And like, I think your motivation is just, it's phenomenal. And that's what I appreciate the most about you, of like, man, you want to do it. And like you said, I've, you know, had a chance to meet some people. No one's got a network like you. No.
Yeah. I shock myself sometimes with the individuals. Well, I think that I start my friendships off with people by not asking for anything. You know, I'm not trying to get something out of somebody. If I meet you online, or if I happen to, we start doing business, it's really because I'm giving you something, or well, you're paying me for a service. And I just try and be very service oriented. I don't try and get favors. I don't try and do anything like that. And, you know, this just comes from working in the NBA when I was younger and really seeing that, you know, you really want to get people to do something for you, do something for them. Like, they'll, you know, run through a wall for you if you can prove to them that you're not trying to trick them. And that's really what, you know, has been my journey in, you know, just down this funding world of, it's so funny too, because individuals are like, yeah, what you should do is just use your money to do this. I'm like, that would be stupid. But guess what? I'm going to create schools so that you can see how to balance your budget so that you never think that that's what you should do. There's books out there like, and then you save this much money and then you throw it away on no, if you just saved up $50,000, go buy you a house. That's the only thing you should do. If you scraped and scrounged and did all that, I got $50,000 in the bank, why would you start a business? But business schools don't teach. This is the actual cost that actually eat away at all these things. So you kind of get that conflated, and people look and then they see things in Forbes and they're like, well, then I just got investment money. And I'm like, it's just this entire world of lies where it shouldn't really be that much lying about this. It's like you said, you want to start a restaurant? You need X amount of capital. You need X amount of runway. You need X amount for your materials. You need X amount for your employees. You need X amount for insurance. You need X amount for food. Add all that up. How much do you think you need? All right, times that by 12 and then pray. But you have to pray that you're bringing in the income to offset any of those things that you spend out. If we taught that in high school to everyone, whether you were going to start a business or not, you at least know the basics of it. You know the basics of funding. You know the basics of all these things. Like, that's more important than getting something or getting a great influx of money and doing really nothing with it. And that's unfortunately what we've seen with a lot of companies. Are there great intentions behind it? Probably in the first couple of weeks, but because you didn't understand the problem and you don't understand business, you don't understand economics, I mean, you're gonna just dribble away, you know, $2 million just like that. Because in the grand scheme of things, when you scale, $2 million is nothing. $4 million is nothing. If you really want to achieve a goal, I mean, you really need that money to keep rolling. And that's what's not taught. And so I think my ability to kind of have a network that's kept me grounded, you know, I've got a ton of people, you should just go get investors and you should do that. Yeah, maybe. But then I'd have to listen to them. And then I'd have to listen to people who thought it was a good idea to put all that money into scooters. Like it really has given me an opportunity to kind of connect the right dots. And honestly, the biggest thing that I think in my path was meeting you and us, and you actually helping me see how government works or gets in the way. Hey, you want to go help education? Let me show you the barriers that are in there. A lot of people try to independently work with school districts and they don't really understand and see, well, you got to connect all these dots or just be grandfathered in with a good relationship. And so a lot of people are, that I know want to help, but they just don't know how to do it. And I really think, just seeing that my ace in the hole was the Chamber of Commerce in all of these cities. How do I go and actually show that I'm going to help this community improve? Get the community on my side, get the businesses on my side, and then easily go get the schools on my side by saying, you guys don't have internet. We can get that. You don't have Chromebooks. Don't worry, I'm gonna call Best Buy. We got you. Oh, you guys need phones? I'm gonna call Microsoft. We got you. And that's the difference. That's really where I just try to elevate myself away from. I don't look at myself as an entrepreneur or I just got a startup. Nope, I had an idea that I saw was something that could actually benefit industries. And I've been taking my time to make sure that gets done the right way. And I think hopefully what I can do is show that to other individuals of, you want to affect change, you have to find the people who can help you affect the change.
So what I'm falling in love with, right? So you're this amazing creative mind that you have, right? And what I'm falling in love with is we put together Connect Further of like, hey, let's start to talk to some of the amazing people in our network, understand where they think things are going and this and that. And it's evolved into something that I couldn't even imagine it would go to. And I piece back to like Kim Cow. Mm-hmm. And I go back to Kat, and I go Josh Miles and Cass Bailey, and now you, and there's a pattern, right? And this goes back to a discussion you and I had offline, about 3 weeks ago, and we talked right from the beginning of the show, like, okay, government, education, the two pillars, the two institutions we look upon during crisis are swaying, right? And so, like, who's next? Who steps up? And I think you and I, our discussion was, it's the creative minds. I think creative minds could come together to change. And I was always, total name drop, and I guarantee he's not listening, but I got a chance to meet Dr. Garrett Westlake. He's executive director of the Da Vinci Center, the Innovation Center for Virginia Commonwealth University. I got to hear him speak in Boston. And he talked about one of the first things he did was he partnered alongside of amazing high-end, just Fortune 100 companies. But the second thing he did was when he put together his team, when he posted his first job, the school came back and said, oh, you don't have the educational requirements here properly. And he said, I don't want it. I don't care where they went to school. Right. Would I want someone who's lived his life in a book teaching my entrepreneurs about a business, though they've never even started one? Or I want that young kid who's 28, 30, who started fourth, failed miserably, but that fourth he's got. Right. I want my kids to hear from him. I don't care if he went to school or not. He's going to teach them something that they need. And like, I just love that. Like, wow, okay, well, tell me how that goes. And he's thriving of what he does. But I just look at, how you want to change the way communities can be impacted through education, and financial literacy being such an amazing opportunity to pass through school. I think about Kim, and Kim challenging us to say, you should institutionalize mentorship in not only higher ed, it's got to be in your K through 12. Mm-hmm. These kids need to get out there. And Kat is legit crazy right now. She's still on the West Coast biking up Route 1. She's tried to change education her whole life, and summer collab and warehouse and providing space, eliminating barriers, saying, look, education needs our help. Yeah. We're not saying that you need to go away. we just say, we've got some opportunities, we've got experience, we've got a network like you have. Let us bring that alongside of you. And I think what's like this pattern that's developing Connect Further is, yeah, I think that's the way. That's going to be the new norm of let's be alongside of you. And so, like, I want you to respond to that, but also too, I want you to tell folks how they can get involved in schools.
That's actually a really good question on, I think over the past decade, we've taken our cues from individuals who've gotten a lot of funding in kind of the build fast, break everything era. And I think that has shown to not hold up as much as taking your cues from individuals who have maybe gone through a lot of ups and downs with businesses, failed businesses or failed ventures, but at least as they were doing those ventures, they understood how these things work. So you look at individuals, like you said, who start a restaurant. There's all of these things that have to happen to make those things a success, and you start to learn how to work with people. You learn all those things together, and then you really succeed when you have that creative mindset of, we're going to start this, but you know what, we're going to start our food truck on Thursdays and Saturdays. And that's that type of thinking that I think education needs. It needs individuals who are not confined by the limitations that are already there, that it may even help that they don't even know that there's limitations. And so, that may be probably the biggest solution in education that I've seen. I think the individuals and the organizations that I'm working with, they just look at what I'm building in school, and they're all wondering like, well, why haven't you just tried to cash in? And I'm like, but I can always cash in. I can always get money. I can always make myself more wealthy off of this. But what I can't do is connect to solve the problem for the key group that I want to solve. If I just make myself wealthy, then how is that helping individuals? I had an opportunity to get interviewed by a pretty prominent outlet, and I turned it down. I was like, well, people from my community, they don't even know what your site is, dude. Like, nobody's reading that stuff about wealth and rich. And then I got this and I got that. I'm like, you really need to have a different mindset. One of the things that I make sure that I have with the team is individuals who come from poverty. I don't exclude people who haven't come from poverty, but I believe that knowing how to pay a bill and knowing how to not pay a bill is the greatest creativity you could possibly have and still exist in this world. And it's that type of thinking that has to go into education. I'll tell you who's doing a fantastic job. He gets a lot of credit because he's a superstar, LeBron James. What they've done with their academy is they've created that ecosystem of helping. And where everyone else is like, well, they have this and they can teach the kids this and they can teach the kids that. Anyone who asks me, I say, you know what? You could tell that there's heart and soul in what they're doing because they have a pantry. They have fresh clothes for kids who don't have clothes. That's it. That's the blueprint for a school. That's how you help someone get over feeling bad about their circumstances and enjoy their education. They're knocking it out the park with that. If schools want to reinvent the way that they're doing it, they really have to think about not these add-on things that help take care of kids, but really take care of kids. Find out what helps them. Find out where they're hurting. And you need creative thinking to do that. You have to think outside of the norms or the things that are available to you, or bring in a third party to try and solve that. So, I would hope kind of going forward that any big organization that needs help, bring in the actual individuals who are going to help you. I'm not trying to give a TED talk. That's not going to benefit anybody. Like, that's great for someone's personal resume, but the individuals who I talk to on a regular basis don't care about TED Talks. They care about how are they going to pay rent. They care about how they're going to feed their kids. They care about how are they going to keep up with their alimony payments or child support. They don't care about what I think the massive amount of praise we give to individuals in the business sector care about. And that's only because they just have not come from that. And again, there's no knock against them, but I always say you can't solve a problem you've never had. And as everybody is seeing, it's 100% true. Good intention, well-funded, you can have everything at your disposal. But if you don't know the core value of why that person does what they do to get by the way they get by, you're not going to be able to solve that thing that you're seeing on the outside of it. And that's where you really do need creative individuals. You need people who are earnest in what they're trying to do. You need people who are not trying to get paid. I get paid anytime. I get paid a lot of money doing what I do. So it really, in my opinion, would make me look very bad to the communities that I'm trying to help if at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is get rich. Not that hard to get rich. I mean, to be honest with you, that's the dirty secret of funding. You get rich pretty quick, then you just have to go, for the next 4 months lying about, well, I don't get paid that much and I didn't take a salary yet. Oh God, really? I started my first company when I was 19, and I've heard so many people lie about that. And I didn't take any money and I don't take. You're a liar. You're a liar, because that would make no sense on my tax return that I'm drawing down X amount against my company. Well, how am I getting any money written off? You idiot. Remember, this is what the problem is with money. No one is teaching people how things work. So you get people who give these interviews and then I didn't take any money and I didn't pay myself. Well, that would be quite foolish. Don't you want to at least pay yourself the bare minimum so you can write that off on your tax? Oh, you did do that and more. Okay, all right. Well, because it doesn't help anybody. But I mean, that's what I want to teach a ninth grader. I want to teach them. Whenever you hear someone say that, just be like, you're lying. What's your capital gains last year? What did you claim on that? Huh? How do you know that? That's my goal, to arm individuals with the information so they could just make better decisions. Because to me, that's really why I came up with school. Is if you would have just simply told me what these things were in the ninth grade, I'd be a billionaire by now. Because I would have known. Buy my first fourplex when I'm 21. Buy my first commercial property when I'm 25. Buy my second when I'm 26. Then cream its money from there. Go to a different state. I own 3 properties. The computer doesn't know I'm black or white. They just know that my account has 3 properties attached to it. I can get $500,000 and up, because it doesn't care. It just knows it can go take those properties. We need to teach kids how this works. And if you look at our economic system, it's all based on us knowing how it works anyway. I always thought of it when I'm building these type of curriculums or when I'm making these partnerships, is I'm just doing what you want individuals to do anyway. Know the answer so that they could be a better individual or a better teammate or a better coworker. It's just going to help your business. And that's really what school is all about, is how do we get access to information to individuals who need it? It's all about schooling. It's all about education. We start off with financial literacy. And I've got some pretty big partnerships I'm working with. And I've just been trying to do it right, instead of doing it in the model that every other one of my competitors is. It's the same regurgitated, computer-based. It's just all the same. And I'm like, nah, we got to do this differently. We have to do it so that it is as fun and as engaging as Twitter. It's easy. It's simple. This is what this means. Pass it on. Done. And we move and we roll from there. So that's really what school is all about. I mean, for individuals who would like to help, you can reach out to me personally. We're to the point now where we're going to start making some announcements in 2021. I'm actually very excited. Finally, I get to bring this thing to life. And it is, it's one of those things where, I sit back every day as it starts to kind of come together. And then I look at the partnerships that I'm building and some of the celebrities that are hopping on and people who are just looking at this as, I wish I would have known this before I started this. I wish I would have known this before I had this. I've got kids now, and I wish I would have known this. And they can really, truly see that it's not about trying to enrich myself or make myself be more popular. As a matter of fact, I removed myself from school wholesale. You know, I created a separation. I turned it into a foundation. I turned it into a 501c3. I don't want the praise. I don't want the clout. I don't want anyone to pat me on my back. I didn't really do anything except steal the teacher's answer key. That's really what I did. I took the teacher's answer key and I passed it to the rest of the class. High five me. Cool. Now we all know the answer. That's all school is. And once I think people really see that, once you do that over and over again, it's a compliment to the teacher. You want me to know the answer so that you can help me understand how to apply the answer. Now you can be a teacher. Now you can help me. But it's not going to help me to quiz me and teach me and quiz me. And do you remember what I don't remember. I don't remember what I did yesterday, to be honest with you. So I can't even imagine how kids are processing all of these things and then trying to figure out how that fits into their lives. And so that's really what I'm doing with school now is, you know, we're at the phase where we're going to start rolling some things out slowly but surely. But, you know, our major partnerships get going in 2021. And so if you want to be a part of it, get in touch with me. Find me online, Ced. I'm on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter or just Ced at Schooled, SCHOOOLD, 3 O's, L and a D.com. Or just, like I said, just ping me on LinkedIn or something like that. And if you got questions or if you want to help out, let me know.
I mean, with that, for our audience, all of Ced's contact information will be plastered throughout all of our social media, whether it's on the Wilkes-Barre Chamber site, whether it's on the Wilkes-Barre Connect site. You'll see it posted before, after this, how to connect. I encourage everyone, please do that. And when the time comes, when Wilkes-Barre Connect and school, they're ready to start doing some stuff here, you better be in line. Get here, get signed up, because this is something that is not, it's for the betterment of the community. And that's what we're trying to do here. And so I encourage everyone, go on and find out more about Ced, find out how you can connect with him. If you didn't come to our conference last year, shame on you. You missed Ced, you missed the debut here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And I think for us, I think it's a perfect segue, Ced, the way we end every Connect Further episode. And I think this is an easier position now because you were it. You, Ashley, Moby, we had Julie, we had Abby Downing from the Superfan Company. Amazing out of the gate people that came together. It's a backdrop on my LinkedIn account, by the way, our photo. It's just what an experience. But you saw what we tried to do last year was our first conference. We wanted to inspire. We wanted to educate. We wanted to start to show the 15 different high school or universities represented, the 10 different high schools represented at the conference of like, there's something happening here and your voice matters. And so that last year, I think, you know, total success. And as we roll towards this November 18th and 19th with our conference, which every day that goes by, I'm assuming it's going to be virtual. But our focus is, okay, now you know and have the confidence that you could actually inspire change. And we're going to create change here. We're looking for challenges. We've posted it out in our community saying, give us a challenge. We want it. And we use NEPA Works in coding the coal region as that example of, look, we were issued that challenge of you can't even fill any jobs right now for computer programming.
Right.
Change that. And so we have. In short term, we're training people, upskilling, getting them in jobs. More importantly, building that talent pipeline of giving students in K through 12 access to computer programming courses online where they can become graphic designers and web developers, game and app developers. So we took that challenge and said, okay, we're going to do it. And so now what we've done is every episode of Connect Further, we've challenged our guests to issue us a challenge. And so with that said, I want you to issue us Wilkes-Barre Connect a challenge that you want us to address at our Wilkes-Barre Connect conference in November.
Sure. I think, probably one of the most appropriate challenges is, can you find a school district to partner with and ensure that each one of their students has access to financial literacy? I think that could be one challenge that may take a little bit of time and a little bit of brain power to kind of figure that out. But, it starts with one at a time. And fortunately for us, school districts are all pretty much the same. So once you solve for a couple, you have a blueprint there. But I think that would be a great challenge.
Well, that's an easy one. Challenge accepted, right? There's not a debate back and forth of, okay, I can't wait. Yeah, challenge accepted, because we've already put that on the wall in the Think Center of, we are going to figure out how we can work with schools, how we can work with Ced, because your passion, your vision, it is there. And for us, and our community is ripe for change. It's ready. And, what better to teach these kids computer programming and then come right alongside and start to teach them financial literacy education,
right,
and start to build this whole opportunity. And that's where it's going to live in schools. We've talked about it. It's going to live in schools. And we can't thank you enough for.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Forget about even today, right? Over a year ago, listening to my crazy voice and being like, you got to come here. You got to do this. And you taking that leap of faith and believing in what we're doing. And, I hope we've started to kind of show you that that's the community we are. And it didn't take long for me to be your number one fan. And, and so it's great to formalize some of our discussions into actual recording. Some of those I think we've had in the past, we probably shouldn't have recorded, because they've been some interesting pathways we've gone on, but I can't thank you enough for taking time. I know you're super busy right now. So taking time today to talk to us, the amazing Ced Funches. Ced, thank you so much for being a part of Connect Further.
No, thank you. I truly appreciate it. And truly, I've been fortunate enough to help companies build things. And like I said, I started my own thing when I was 19. And I'm just in a position now where I can really take my time and have a measured approach on who do I want to help and what do I want to do. And doing it for the right reasons just makes it a lot easier. It's not for me, it's really for other individuals. And if I can create, like you said, instead of trying to scale it, how do we solve it and then let other people scale it and solve it for themselves?
That couldn't have said it any better, right? Let's solve it. And that's when the scaling can happen. Let's get to work, and we're ready. In the Wilkes-Barre, Northeastern Pennsylvania region, we are ready. Look forward to it. And I don't even think we have to figure out how we do this. You're going to be a part of our conference in November. How that is, you're going to be there. And
I'm pretty sure we will not be out of this COVID-19 nonsense until March of next year, with some vaccines flying around. But anything that you need, I'm really committed to the Philadelphia area and up north a little bit with you guys. So, I truly cannot wait for some of these pilots to start rolling out. I mean, I think it's going to be such an eye-opening experience for individuals to see that you don't have to get hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. And we're teaching individuals at the exact same time. This is how you do it. This is how you get change. This is how you help teachers. Don't take away from them. Don't take their livelihoods away. Give them help. They need a teacher's assistant. How do we help them?
Exactly. Yeah. And with that, the timer goes off. That means we're out of time.
We're out of time.
So, Ced, thank you again. It's always great to catch up with you, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Sounds good. Take care. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ced, for joining us today. For those of you tuning in, if you'd like to stay in touch with Ced and learn more about the great things that he's planning to do in the realm of financial literacy and education, you can connect with him on his Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Dribbble. You can catch us in our next Connect Further video in the first week of August. If you'd like to get notifications for upcoming Connect Further videos, watch our past episodes, or learn more about the Wilkes-Barre Connect Conference in November, visit wbconnectconference.com. Thanks for watching.